Slingin Dirt Media, DJ Smollett. I'm in the shop with Steve Casebolt. Steve, what's going on, buddy?
Just hanging out here, man.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
So new crib, you're telling me here.
Yeah, we got a new house.
Nice.
Spent the last few months getting it ready to move into, and we finally moved in, I don't know, I guess about a month ago, and it's taken up all my time, so couldn't make it to Speed Weeks this year.
Couldn't make the Speed. So
for the 10th year in a row, I couldn't make it.
10th year in a row. Yeah, we'll blame it on the house.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
So what's going on with the racing, man? Are you taking a break? Are you on part-time? Are you just retiring?
Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. I've had some times where I thought maybe we'll put something together and go race, or so I sold my hauler, which is the most critical element to go racing.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and
you got to get there.
Yeah, I really haven't gotten to the point where I even wanted to buy another one. I've talked to a couple of guys about maybe driving for them, and nothing really good has came along that seemed like, I mean, not that that the opportunities weren't good, but I don't know. I'm a little bit pickier than what I would have been.
Sure. 20 years ago.
Yeah. Back in the day, I would have driven for anybody, anything, as long as the engine ran, whatever. But now it's kind of like, man, if I'm going to take my time to go do that, I want to be competitive, and I want to be surrounded by a group of guys that are fun to hang around with. That way, if you don't run good, you still get to have a good time.
Right.
I don't know, my time's just a lot more valuable to me now than it ever was with my little girls growing up. And
kids getting on, 1 or 2?
I have 2 little girls, one's 9 and one's 5.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to look up and them be 19 years old and moving out of the house, and I was at a racetrack for the last 20 years. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and
I get it.
So I don't know, I guess my priorities have changed, and business is good, and there's a lot of work to be done, and I guess racing's way down on the list.
It's taking a back burner.
It's way on down there, where it was always #1 before. Now it's maybe barely cracking the top 10. I don't know.
I might want to do it, I might not.
yeah. Even if I could do it right now, it's kind of like, I don't know if I feel like that or not.
I got you. So you said something about, in the past, you maybe would have drove something a little lesser. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your first car. What was this thing like? Did you start out
late model?
Did you start out in a late model, or did you start out in?
I started out in go-karts when I was 6.
Okay.
And then I raced those until I was like 15, I think, and then I got a modified. I didn't have a modified for very long. I raced it. It was actually a really nice car. We sold all of our go-kart stuff, and we were able to buy a complete modified outfit. Turnkey, 2 engines, trailer, everything. This dude was like, I'm quitting, I'm done. And, I mean, he gave us a great deal, and we just happened to get lucky and get it bought, and it was an awesome outfit. And I think his name was Keith Browning. He raced around like the Lawrenceburg area. He had excellent equipment.
Yeah.
And so I raced that thing for probably less than a season, and then the main sponsor at that time was Charlie Watson Ford. Yeah.
I remember you always having that for like the longest time.
Yep. And then he's kind of a big shot kind of guy. He's like, I want one of these late models. Yeah. And we're like, all right, let's do it. So he got a late model, and then one thing led to another, and we raced for whatever it was.
So when 20 years. What year was it you started on a late model? Do you remember?
When we were moving, I was looking through all my trophies and plaques and stuff, and I saw my first win was in 1998 at Flag City Speedway, which is Findlay, Ohio.
Okay.
So I think maybe 97. I don't think I won my first year.
Yeah.
So 97 probably was my first year, maybe late 96, and then all 97, and then maybe I won in 98, something like that.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So the wins came.
Yeah, we had a few.
You had a few.
Yep.
You had a couple big ones too, didn't you?
Yeah, we won. I mean, obviously we won the Dream. Everybody knows that. But we won some Lucas Oil races. I won one World Outlaw race, which I was just talking to my wife about this last night. I was like, man, I've got second in like 8 or 9 World Outlaw races.
Really?
Something like that. I was like, man, it would have been nice just to have won a couple of those. And then
hey, there's still time.
Nah, probably not. And But yeah, we had a few wins and had a lot of fun and a lot of memories and a lot of stories. And met a lot of great people.
Yeah. How big was that winning the dream?
That was huge. I mean, honestly, if I'm looking back and I never won any other race other than that one, I could say it was a successful career.
Yeah.
You know, when I started this, everybody wants to be the guy that wins at Eldora or, you know, a NASCAR guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't really know if you can get there. I mean, that was my goal. But
you won one of the biggest 2 events at Eldora.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be like, yeah, cool. I'm good.
Yeah, you can look back on that and know that, I mean, at least they knew we were there for a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know if this necessarily pertains to Eldora. Did you have any particular, is there any rivals that you were just like nuts about? Like either you really liked racing with this guy or you really hated racing with that guy?
Oh yeah, I've had all that.
Any of it you want to talk about?
It changes though. I mean, from year to year it changes, you know. A lot of times, I mean, obviously, Bloomquist has always been the best.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fallen off the last few years, but that guy was the best the entire time that I raced.
They don't call that guy the dirt track dominator for no reason.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I didn't get to beat him very often, but the nights that I did beat him,
oh, he felt good.
That felt good. I mean, not just beat him because he crashed and you got to outrun him, but like, you know, you outrun that guy for a win, or you pass him and run in the top 5 or something. I mean, it wasn't really a rivalry because
but those
he probably doesn't even know my name, but I mean,
oh yeah, he won that 1-3.
Yeah, I remember that guy. But
he's won a few of those.
Yeah. But no, like that's the guy you always looked up to. But then as far as rivalries go, it almost seems like it turns out being the guys that you race with the most.
Yeah.
And that
they're always right there.
Yeah, like, you know, early on in that Lucas thing when we were doing it, Pearson was good. So, you know, we always wanted to outrun him. Right. It was always the goal to beat him. And then around that same time, Scott James was running good with Lucas Oil.
Right.
And he's from the same area, so we're racing together every single night.
Chamberlain,
yeah, I guess more of a hometown rivalry there. But it's always been friendly.
Right.
But he's... when I decided I was going to go out and travel the world to race, I mean, he was probably doing the smarter thing and racing within a couple hours of the house.
He was being more regional where you were spreading the wings.
Yeah. And he had some great seasons there where I was like, man, when I come back home, I know I'm going to have to outrun Dwayne.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but that stuff changes so much. And like right now, all those guys that we just named are either retired or not running great,
or thinking about retiring, or running
maybe
part-time.
Going to retire. I mean, Earl's still going at it pretty hard, but I mean, I don't know how much longer that's going to last.
Right.
You know,
right?
Who else was there? I mean, Josh Richards.
I haven't seen him turn a lap in a while. What's going on there?
He's retired. He called it off.
He retired.
Yeah. So I mean, all the guys that I always focused hard to outrun, I mean, I guess I beat them because they're all done. Yeah, no. But and a lot of times it turns into your buddies, you know, like the guys you like hanging out with. Like, you know, Jeep was always one of them. Him and I always raced each other really hard. And he didn't catch any slack. No. You know, it wasn't like, oh, he's my buddy, I'm going to cut him some slack. If anything, he goes harder. You know.
That's how buddies are, ain't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know too many buddies that I'm gonna lay up and give him extra room. Hell no! If you want this, you're gonna take it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess.
I'm not gonna do a dick move or do a dirty move on them.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
No, you try to keep it clean.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, there's been a ton of them out there, and I mean, there's been guys we haven't gotten along with. It just seems like no matter where you race, it's just a magnet. Like, if you're going to get into somebody, it's going to be him.
It's going to be the guy that you don't get along with.
There was a year where like, and I've never not gotten along with Michael Chilton ever. So it's not that I don't get along with him, but there was a year where every time I got on the track, He was at that race, and somehow or another, if I made a bonehead move, it was right there beside him, and I'd hit him or something. I'm like, oh my God.
This guy's going to think I'm doing it on purpose.
Yes, I was like.
Or he's going to think I just can't drive.
Yeah, and like, so we had that little thing with him, but nobody ever got mad or anything. I mean, every time I'd have to go apologize, and I think he got into me a time or two, so that actually made me feel better.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah. But I'm just looking back. I mean, there's been so many good guys that we've raced with over the years. I mean, Burkhofer and I had a little issue there for a while. The World 100 that he won, I'm pretty sure I was leading the heat race, and he drove in there and slid me and wasn't clear. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I've raced with Burkhofer enough. I know he's going to give me room,
right?
You know.
Yeah.
And so I don't lift. I'm just planning on he's going to slide up there, and he knows he's not clear, and he's going to let me drive back around. We're going to race into the next corner.
Yeah.
Well, he either didn't care or didn't know, but
it didn't work.
But yeah. So I'm up there beside him, and boom, he hits me in the left front wheel, knocks me in the wall, and I'm at least going to run second in this heat race for the World 100.
Sure.
And so that was a big position to get knocked out of.
Yeah.
And it's like, son of a bitch, man. And it actually happened twice with Burkhofer, and both times at Eldora, and the second time was at that World 100, and
same world.
It was. The first time might have been the Dream. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
But I know he felt bad about it because he did apologize, and I could tell that he did feel bad. But he got to win the race, and I got to go home on the trailer and watch him win the race. But
that's just not quite as fun that way, is it?
It is what it is, and I mean all that stuff's come and gone, and I don't have any hard feelings with anybody now.
Before you started traveling, what did you have a home track? Did you race?
I never really did. No.
Well, or you just kind of did you start out going regionally and just going anywhere and everywhere?
So my career was kind of backwards of everybody else's career.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that Charlie Watson, when he started with me, I was a full-blown rookie. My dad was a rookie. I didn't have anybody around me that wasn't a rookie.
Yeah.
We knew nothing about racing a late model.
Learning together.
We raced a go-kart.
Okay.
And we didn't work on them much. We just, like, with a go-kart, you got to oil the chain. And back then,
back then, they weren't as much work as they are now.
No, they weren't as technical.
Yeah.
Or I guess they were. We just didn't know that we were supposed to be working that hard on them. And we were pretty successful for no more than we put into it.
Right.
And then when we got this modified and this late model, we just didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And didn't have anybody to teach us anything. But Charlie was there, and he was willing to spend the money to buy us the equipment that we needed, and he would pay the money to get us to whatever. If I said, Charlie, I want to go to pick a track. If I want to go to Pennsboro and run this Dirt Track World Championship, he's like, all right, well, let's go.
Let's go.
He's as much of a rookie as us.
Hey, Charlie, I want to go to Speed Weeks.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We did. We went to Speed Weeks. Had no clue what we were doing. And so at that time, I had way more money behind me than I ever did for the rest of my career.
Right.
We just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of a good problem to have, but looking back, it's like, what I could have done different.
If I could change it.
Yeah.
I'd have had the money the last few years, or I think we were with him from it would have been from around 97 to probably...
Oh, now your phone.
Probably 03, it rings now.
Now your phone rings.
To 03, so what was that? That's, 7 good years we had with him, and he was spending the money. He wasn't afraid to spend it. He didn't... A lot of car owners, and I think a lot of them to this day are still the same, they don't like hiring help.
Right.
He didn't mind buying the equipment.
That's an overhead.
Yeah.
That's a big
He didn't mind buying the equipment, but he didn't want to hire any help. He's like, oh, you guys need to do that. These teams, they can't afford to hire good help. Right. They're all doing it with buddies and family members and stuff. And maybe they were, but they probably had buddies and family members that knew what they were doing. Right. We didn't know.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, we got all this stuff, and I mean, I would be friends with anybody at the racetrack just to try to get some knowledge.
Yeah.
Chubb Frank helped me. I learned a ton from him. I learned a ton from Mike Balzano. Bart Hartman was probably my best mentor. He taught me, he like would let me go to his shop some, and he'd teach me and show me how to work on the car. I mean, I kind of picked up on the driving and the setup stuff, but I didn't even know how to maintain it. Like,
right.
I didn't know how to keep the engine from blowing up, you know?
Right.
And so I had to learn every aspect of it all at once.
Right.
It wasn't like I got to go to the track with my dad and watch him race and help him start off, help him grooving tires or learn my way up through there. You
guys just dove head first.
Yeah. So then I had all this money behind me at the beginning, and which was great, but then when that ended, then Charlie was like, look, he said, if you'll sell all this equipment, he took his truck and trailer and he took his four-wheeler, but all the race car stuff.
Right.
He said, if you'll sell all this equipment and quit racing, he said, I'll let you have all the money to put towards college, because that was right around the time I was going to be going to college.
Yeah.
And so, or maybe I was already in college for a year or two.
Right.
And I was like, all right, that's fine, I'll do it. And so I sold all of his stuff, and I was like, you know what, I think I still want to race. But I had told him, I promised him that I wasn't going to try to race, that I would spend it on college. And and I didn't hold to my word on that, and I bought that was in 03, and I bought a brand new rocket. Mark Richards helped me with that. He knew that I was going to be on my own, and I was looking for used stuff to buy, and I called him up and I was like, hey, what about this used car? What about that used car? He said, hey, why don't you just come over here? We'll build you a car. We'll take care of you. And so we built that new rocket, and I can't remember what engine I had. I may have kept one of those engines that Charlie had, and I sold all the other stuff, and then my dad scraped together enough money to get me a very modest race car hauler.
Okay.
And then, so I kept some that's what I did. I kept some of the loose ends, and I just sold, like, we had Rayburn cars, I think, with Charlie, and Ford engines, and like a bunch of kind of stuff that was obsolete.
Right.
And so we got out all that stuff, and I put that money towards the new rocket and some new wheels and tires and whatever else. And then my dad helped me with that truck and trailer. And our first race out in it, we went to Florence for the Spring 50 and won. Very first night out.
Hey.
And back then that was a big deal, because there was like 60-some cars there that night. Steve Francis was the hot dog back then, and he ran second, so we were pretty good.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, I just really, I loved racing. I wanted to do it. That's all I could think about. That's all I wanted to do. And so...
did you end up finishing college?
I did. I graduated from Ball State.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a waste. The whole thing was a waste. I've never one time... You might be the first person that's ever asked me if I finished.
If you finished.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Literally nobody cares.
You don't need it, do you?
No. Not for my line of business, I don't. Yeah. I mean, not to drive a race car, not to fix up houses, not to own a car wash, not to all the stuff I do.
You flip houses.
I do. I got rental properties. I have rental equipment. I have storage units, flip houses, car wash.
And your wife, she's a real estate agent, right?
She's a real estate agent, yeah.
Okay, well, it goes hand in hand.
That's by design.
By design?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's some of that college thinking going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, then I just focused everything for the next several years on racing. And, I mean, I was still, the only income I had was my flip houses, and then whatever income I could generate from the race car, which wasn't much.
Right.
And whatever sponsorship I could get, which wasn't much.
Right.
And my dad really wasn't able to help me. If he could have, I would have. Yeah. I would have ran. I mean, I would have just kept right on going. But he just wasn't able to.
Didn't you? What was the energy drink? Didn't you have the
Rockstar?
Yeah, the Rockstar energy drink for a little bit.
Yeah, that was basically. We were one of the first people. One of the first teams, really, probably at that time, Lucas Oil's most loyal team.
Sure.
because it started with Earl would have been the most loyal, Pearson,
right?
And then we came on board after him and finished out I think we finished out the 05 season with them, and then in 06 we ran all the races. 07 we ran all the races, and then 08 came around and I needed help. Like I was going to be done. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's tough.
And they helped me. They helped me get that
Rockstar.
That Rockstar. Or well, actually, they helped me get Dixie Chopper first.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was a big one.
Actually, no, they didn't. Dixie Chopper and Fatheads were Indiana businesses, and they were sponsoring the series, and they came to the banquet that year. And I met them. I met both of them at the banquet, and they just kind of hit it off with both of them. They said they liked the way that I thanked my sponsors and stuff, and
right.
And so they started calling me and stuff, and then and we worked out. Dixie Chopper was probably the best sponsor I ever had.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that was really good. And then but then once that ended, then we ended up with that Rockstar. That's when it was about to be done. I was like, look, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Not without Dixie.
Yeah.
So Lucas was like, all right, they have the ability to kind of persuade their Team Lucas sponsors to help the drivers that they want to help. So, I mean, you're talking about 2010 at that point, and I'd been with them since 06.
Right.
And Earl had been with them since 05. So, I mean, I would have been the second most loyal driver.
Sure.
So they helped me. And
it kept you around a little bit.
Yeah, and then I raced with them in 10, and actually, it wasn't 10. It was 11. Was Dixie or was Rockstar? All these years get mixed up.
They do.
Yeah.
Now you and Rick are buddies.
Yep.
Yeah. I've not on purpose, but I mean I've been in the area and knew you guys were on the phone and had some conversation and stuff. So
we're not always buddies.
Not all. Let's not get it twisted.
No. No. I mean, just it doesn't matter who you are or what series you're affiliated with. If you're the competitor, whether it's basketball, football, I mean, you know that Peyton Manning's not always happy with the NFL. You know he thinks they make the wrong calls, or whatever. And I mean, I think that really, I'm very impressed with Lucas Oil and World of Outlaws because they've both been around for a long time. Everybody said when they started that they'd both be gone.
Yeah.
And
look where they're at.
And they're both still here.
Still here.
They're both still successful. And I got nothing but good to say about either series, you know?
Right.
But
and that's coming from a guy who's raced both
I ran
series.
both of them. I think I only ran World Outlaw once. Just 16, I think I ran 16.
I feel like the Outlaws this year have more committed drivers than I've ever seen a series have. I mean, it's like,
they put up big money.
Yeah.
The purses that they're coming up with, I mean, I know the price of everything's really, really grown, but
everything's through the roof.
The purses are huge now. Like, just like I said, that $5,000 to win at Florence was there was 60 cars there that night.
Yeah.
Well, they just had 10,000 to win at Florence 2 nights ago, and there was 20 cars there.
20, yeah.
And then they had 10,000 to win 2 hours down the street at Paragon, Indiana. It's like you can race for you can race for big money every weekend.
What's it paying at Eldora tomorrow night?
I don't know. I think it's 20 maybe, isn't it?
20. So
22. It was 22 last year. I didn't even look this year.
Eldora's running Tuesday. Somebody's running Wednesday. I can't remember who's running Wednesday.
Is it Brownstown?
Maybe. Brownstown running Wednesday. Then you can go to 411 on Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to, you could start Tuesday and end up at Talladega every single night.
Yeah, back when I mean, there was plenty of years where I would have done that.
Yeah.
I'd have just been on that swing.
And Lucas is running this weekend too. I don't even know where they're at, but I know they're running this weekend.
They're running? Yeah. I don't know. I can't. I'm.
You don't even keep track of it anymore.
No, I don't. I will wake up on like a Sunday morning, and I'll look at Dirt on Dirt to see who won. But as far as following up on it and knowing who's going to be where and all that, like I don't follow it that much. Yeah. I mean, it's enjoyable for me sometimes to watch the races if I'm home. Yeah. But normally, you know, Saturday night we try to go out and have a beer.
There's another topic. I mean, obviously this wasn't an option back then, but like, man, how do you feel about sitting around and just watching the streaming stuff? I mean,
I enjoy that.
Yeah.
I don't do it that much because I'd rather be out of the house and be active doing something.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, hanging out with friends or take the kids somewhere on the weekend or something like that. But if I am home, I'll watch it if they're on.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very neat.
I think it's good and bad. It's good that the sport's getting the coverage, but it's, you know, I gotta feel like, man, sometimes maybe does it hurt the crowds or
it may, but
people that's going to come and watch.
You just have to figure out a way. I mean, if you're the track,
yeah,
and I don't know how to do
balance.
That, you have to figure out a way that you get some of that money when they televise your event. I mean, they just had $100,000 to win
XR race
in one night at Bulls Gap, so don't tell me that it can't be done. You know,
it can be done.
It can be done. Yeah. You just got to figure out a way. The technology's coming.
Sure.
In every avenue of our lives, technology's coming. So you're either gonna fall behind or you're gonna embrace it.
Yeah.
And these tracks, if they don't embrace it, they're gonna fall behind.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if Bulls Gap or XR or whoever put that on can figure out a way to pay $100,000 to win in one night and not be a 2-day show, and have their stands absolutely jam-packed full, it can be done.
It can be done.
So they just got to figure it out. And I mean, and I'm not a promoter and don't claim to be a promoter, or would I have any idea how to do it, you know?
It's a party, not just show up.
Yeah, but I mean, it's to me, it's pretty exciting. I just wish that I wish that it would have been earlier on in my career to where I could have capitalized on it more.
Like you said, you were kind of backwards at it.
Super backwards, yeah. Yeah.
It would have been nice to have that knowledge and then have the financial backing with the knowledge that you had toward the end.
But I mean, at the same time, though, I learned a lot and got my name out there a lot that I wouldn't have been able to do if it weren't for that early money that was pumped into my program.
Yeah. Aside of that, this is something I've been thinking about doing, and this is something that still may happen. You just may be the first one I get to start with. I've been thinking about doing like a dirty side of slinging dirt. Just kind of asking guys randomly, man, what's the dirtiest thing you ever did to somebody and thought about, man, I really should have done that. Or then the flip side of that, what's the dirtiest thing you ever had done to you? And like, really, dude?
Oh,
you know?
Racing-wise?
Yeah. Okay, not racing-wise. I'm good either way. What do you got? Let's sling some dirt. That you're comfortable talking about. I mean,
probably the dirtiest thing I ever did was the last 10,000 to win that I won. It was it was at West Plains in 2020.
I think I may have watched that on TV.
And the bad part about it was my good buddy Kent.
K-Rob.
Yeah.
I did watch this race.
So I've led this whole entire race, and we're far and away better than everybody else. I mean, I'm like, okay, we're going to win this thing.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's either going to be you or it's going to be Kent. One of you two.
No, Kent's not even in the picture.
He's not.
No, he's not even in the picture so we have a yellow, and it's like 4 or 5, 6 laps to go or whatever. Wasn't very much out of 50 laps.
Yeah.
And I look on the board, and it's number 15 in second, and another car. I don't remember who was in third. But I'm like, okay, number 15. I'm trying to think of who that was, and I can't remember. I can't even remember who it is. And then this other car in third, I'm like, I don't know who that is either. And Kent had started on the pole beside me. I started outside pole.
Okay.
But I got the jump, and I've led the whole thing, and I'm like, all right, here's these two guys. I don't know who either one of them are, and I'm like, and I know we're the best car, and so I'm just like, all right, well, we're gonna be all right here. I think I'm gonna get this thing won. Because Kent was the guy I was worried about because he was good.
Yeah.
Like, I know he had been good all night. Right. And so they dropped the green on this restart, and I go down in there, and I'm running the bottom, and I had been running the bottom, and I was like, shit. I'm like, that didn't feel good. You know, you make a turn, you're like, that didn't feel good. I went down to the next corner, I was like, that didn't feel good. And then this goes on for like a couple laps in my car, and I'm kind of like, oh my God, do I move to the top? Do I move to the middle? Do I keep doing what I'm doing? And I'm flustered at this point because I'm like, I know I'm about to lose this thing.
About to be a sitting duck.
Yeah. Because I just don't feel good. And so I'm watching this board. I'm looking at everything around me. I'm like, I know somebody's going to drive up on the outside of me or on the bottom of them. I know something's going to happen because I suck right now. I don't know what's happened. But so I'm trying to do the best I can, and I look at the board and I hear a guy here. So I hear a guy out here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, I'm beat. And I look at the board and I'm like, all right, it's at number 15, and there's that other dude that I don't know who that is either.
Right.
And but I hear him and I see him and I know he's there because it's like close. I'm ahead of him, but not by very much.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go down into 1 and I'll just drive down in there harder than him and slide up in front of him.
Okay.
Well, I drive down into 1 as hard as I can, and he's still there. I'm like, oh no. So I just kind of crowd him. I don't hit him.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't hit him. I'm thinking, all right, this is number 15. I don't know who it is. I'm not ever gonna have to race this guy again. This ain't pretty, but it is what it is.
It's 10 grand.
I'm not going to crash anybody,
right.
But I'm going to crowd the hell out of him. And so I'm crowding him up in this dust.
Yeah.
Go down the back straightaway, go into 3. He's still there. Like, oh, God, I got to crowd this guy again. So I'm crowding him again. And then he's all up alongside of me now.
Yeah.
And I crowd him off into 3. I get way wide getting into 3, and then I cut left or get him up in the dust or whatever. And finally, I shake this dude. And I'm like, I don't know who this is, but he's gonna be pissed. and I'm still watching the board. So the board's number 15, third. I don't know who it is. Didn't know who 15 was.
Right.
I mean, there was a whole field of guys I didn't know. I'm in West Plains, Missouri for a regional race.
Right.
You know,
was that like an MLRA?
Yeah, it was one of those.
Yeah.
And so the race is over, and I still don't know who I've raced. And
Cash Money Series.
I think it was MLRA.
It might have been, but I remember watching a couple of those, and I was like, Cash Money Series? I was like, that's an awesome name.
Pretty cool. So then, after the race is over, we're doing the 3 people show up, and I see Kent walking up. I'm like, Kent got third. And I'm like, and he looks mad. This dude's mad. And I shake his hand. I was like, hey, man, where'd you end up? He's like, third.
Third,
and I'm like,
thanks a lot.
So I'm like, uh-oh. I think that might have been Kent. So I realized this number, they didn't change the numbers on the board, and this number 15 was not number 15. It was Kent this whole time. Kent and I followed each other out there. We're parked side by side in the pits. His crew guy's flipping me off. I'm like, oh, that was Kent. And so, I mean, I tried to apologize to him there on the front straightaway, and he was mad, and I don't blame him, yeah, so that was about probably the dirtiest I've ever driven anybody. But I mean, I'm not saying if I'd have known it was him that I wouldn't have driven him hard, because I would have.
Sure.
I probably wouldn't have driven him that hard.
You know, like, this is some guy I don't know. I'm never going to race again.
Yeah, and then the 15 turned out to be Peyton Looney, which I'm familiar with him.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, you're out there racing. I mean, 10 grand's on the line. You're nervous.
Yeah.
You don't know who it is.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, who's this 15?
I'm sitting duck. I got to do something.
Yeah, and then it turned out to be Kent, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
Damn.
That's not
really,
good.
I just did that.
Yeah. As far as people doing dirty stuff to me, like, you don't really know, because it's hard to know what somebody does on purpose,
right,
and what they don't do on purpose, unless they tell you.
Yeah.
You know,
man, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to do it that bad.
Well, unless somebody comes to you and like they're like, yeah, you had one coming, or something like that. You know,
because you remember those.
Yeah.
Somebody gets into you, you're thinking about it the next week or the next lap, or if you know it.
I definitely do that. Like if people do something that's really bad to me.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I'll get, if a guy comes over and shakes your hand, it's like, look, dude, I didn't mean to. I apologize. Here's what was going on. Here's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, I might not be happy about it.
Right.
But I'll get over it.
Yeah. You can get over those way easier than when it just happens and a guy don't say a word to you. You're like,
yeah. I've even had guys like, just crash over you. And like, I mean, I've raced for a long time. If I know when something's my fault.
Right.
And I would think that most of these other guys should know that too. But for whatever reason, it's a lot of the younger guys. Like, they'll crash over you, take you out, and then get out and be mad at you. And
like, what were you doing in my way?
Yeah, like, it's kind of like,
really?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the stuff you remember, and you're like, all right, well.
If the tables are turned, guess what?
Just remember next time.
Yeah.
That you were mad at me when you crashed me, so I'm gonna crash you and I'm gonna be mad at you.
Right.
You know.
And you're gonna be okay with it.
Yeah. And that's the stuff you don't forget.
Yeah.
You know, but like, if a guy genuinely messes up and he's like, "Look, dude,
my bad, dude.
Is what it is."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You know, I mean.
All right, let's go get a beer and we're good.
Yeah. Like I said, might not be happy about it. Might take a few weeks to get over it, but you do get over it and you forget about it. I make a definite mental note not to get over that other stuff.
Yeah.
And
if I get a chance,
it's coming back.
Then I'll get over it. Then I'll feel better and I'll get it out of my
then we can be buddies.
Then we can be buddies.
Yeah. Then I'll get over it.
Yeah. I had a guy tell me one time when I first started racing for a little bit there, and he said, "Hey, some guys you just got to have an understanding with." He said, "They're going to keep driving over the hood of your car until you either say something to them or you do it back to them."
Yeah.
Say, "Hey, if you want to race, we're going to race. If you want to turn them upside down on 42 out here."
Yeah.
That's
Sometimes you just have to sacrifice a night and wreck with a guy. You just got to wreck.
Yeah.
Just be like, all right, let's wreck.
All right.
Let's get this over with. You apparently want to wreck every night, so let's wreck.
Yeah. And then we'll figure it out back in the pits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you try to do it to where you don't tear your car up, too.
Sure.
But it doesn't always work that way.
Don't always work that way.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. So let's talk about Steve outside of the race car. What kind of hobbies you got? Now that you're not racing, you've got time to have hobbies now. Back in the racing career, it might have just been beer drinking.
Yeah. I mean, still try to do that one night a week.
Just one?
Yeah, just once.
All right.
I don't really have many hobbies.
Yeah.
I don't have much. No, I mean, I enjoy I enjoy getting involved in those, like running those 5K races.
Okay.
Like foot races.
Yeah.
I like doing that, but that's difficult. Like you gotta be in shape for that. That's a little bit like racing. Like you gotta. Yeah.
That's not me.
And I mean, I'm still pretty. I can still do it pretty well, but
I can drive my golf cart or my quad 5K.
Yeah, you could. So I like doing that. I don't really have. I just work a lot, really.
Yeah.
And then when I don't work, I want to spend time with my family and or go out with friends or something like that. That's about all I do.
I can recall a few occasions. I think we were out in a groups together. Some beer drinking.
Oh yeah.
Beer drinking.
Yeah.
Good times.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun just hanging out with. I mean, that's where you can make the most friends racing. Is, you know, if you can get out after the races are over and, you know, kind of just let the nerves and the competitiveness of everything cool down and just really get to know the guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
just relax and just kick back.
For the most part, we're all the same.
Sure.
You know, I mean, 99% of the guys are great guys.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to win. Everybody works hard.
Yeah.
You know,
everybody that I generally know or deal with, it's like, man, these guys, we're all passionate about sport.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be super competitive.
Yeah.
I feel like occasionally you run into like that guy that just doesn't realize where his skill set is.
I've been that guy.
Guilty.
Everybody's been that guy. Yeah. Everybody's been over their head a time or two, at least. But
you learn and you don't.
Yeah. But I have a lot of respect for the guys that have just done it a long time. Those are the ones that
made a longevity career out of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that'll come in and their dad will buy them a race team and they'll go out there and they'll be fast for a few seasons and they'll crash over top everybody, piss everybody off and all that. And those are the guys that's a little bit hard to have respect for.
Sure.
But as far as the guys, you know, like Moyer, Bloomquist, Owens, Pearson, you know, I mean, even Davenport's
still doing it.
Dennis Erb, I mean, like, it's just, I mean, those guys they have a passion for it, and I mean, if you think about it, every one of those guys that I just named, you're not going to see them in an altercation with somebody.
Generally not.
No, you're just not going to see that very often. And if it happens, it's because it's probably the other guy, you know, because those guys just...
Yeah, you don't see those high-profile altercations very often.
No, you don't. No.
I remember seeing, I think
it's always the guy that his dad bought him a car. And they're working on it for him, and he doesn't have to fix anything, and he doesn't have to pay for anything.
Oh, man, there's so many of those
or
guys.
He doesn't have to make a living doing it.
Sure.
It's those guys.
Yeah. Man, I remember a big-name altercation. This would have been at Florence. This is way back. It would have been the 29 and the 99. I mean, these guys...
Lanigan and Moran?
Yeah. I can't remember who went to whose hauler. They went up inside, and man, the car was sitting at the back of the tailgate.
I don't see Moran running to anybody's hauler.
Man, I mean, it was like a swarm. I mean, there was probably 50 to 100 people, it seemed like. I mean, just everybody was like, what's going on? And them two were just in there just giving each other the business. It was like, oh, damn.
Moran's another one. Moran helped me a lot early on.
Yeah.
You know, I just always tried to find, the best guys to talk to, and I mean, even Bloomquist, everybody's always thought, oh, you can't talk to him, he's different, or he's an ass or whatever, but he's a cool dude.
He's a cool dude.
He's a cool dude, and like anytime I've ever asked him for help, he was always more than willing to help.
Yeah.
Till I beat him a time or two, and then that slowed down a little bit. But I mean, I didn't ask him much, but I mean, there were times that I did, and he was willing to answer, you know?
Right.
And that's one thing that Charlie Watson taught me. I mean, he was like, look, you don't know how to do this. None of us can tell you how to do this.
Right.
So the best thing you can do is just go up and talk to these guys. He said, don't be afraid of them. He said, they're just racers just like you. He said, let's figure this out. And he was right, because about everybody that I talked to, I mean, was more than willing to help.
Right. I've decided, hey man, I want to take this table to Tennessee. I don't care if I'm going to Newport or if I'm going to Mooresburg. It's like, dude, if my $600 van will make it to Tennessee, I'm going to sit down and talk to one of these guys. So I talked to Steve Landrum, and man, I really, it's like, I said, if I ever feel like I was good enough and I want to go do an episode with Scott, I said, because I know they run Scott's cars and stuff, and they help him out at different tracks. So I was like, well, you kind of buddies enough. I said, hey, you think you could talk to him? You think he might do it if I was ready? He said, yeah, I think he would. I'm like, all right. Dude, it wasn't a freaking month later, the dude's on Dale Jr.'s download. I'm like, that's it, I'm ready. Let's do this right now. I called Stevie the next day and said, all right, whatever you got to do, let me know, get me in. What do I got to do? I want to go.
Yeah.
He said, all right, let me call him. So a couple of weeks went by, and he called me and says, well, I talked to Scott, and man, he drug it out. Like, well, what did he say? You know, he drug it out. He said, yeah, he'll do it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you know. So he gave me his number, and I'm like, man, this guy's not going to answer. First time I called him, he answered. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm talking to Scott Bloomquist. Hey, man, here's what I want to do, you know. And he's like, yeah, we can make it.
That's a pretty good Bloomquist.
That's not bad. You just
not that bad,
we just haven't worked the schedule out yet, but he said yes, so we'll see.
He will, yeah.
Yeah, now he's doing his own podcast.
Yep. That'll be big.
Yeah, hell, I bet.
Yeah, that'll be huge.
Yeah. Man, Steve, we've probably went a little over on time. I'm good with it if you're good with it. But before we wrap things up, tell us who you got to thank. Who's really helped you and get you where you've been? I know you mentioned Charlie, your dad, family and stuff. You know.
My dad, my wife, they've been there with me the longest. I've had several crew guys that have really been a help along the way.
I can think of two that seemed like they were good hands.
Who are they?
Romeo.
Romeo,
the little blonde-haired guy.
Okay, that's Billy Hager. Yeah, he's been there.
I thought his nickname was. I thought he was called Romeo.
I don't know who Romeo is.
Okay, I'm wrong on that one.
So he's been there with me.
Is he racing a modified now?
He races occasionally.
Okay.
He's got a little mod program that he runs, but not much. He's busy working too. But he's been there with me a bunch. Tate Swafford has been there with me the last 3 seasons or so. Dale Beitler gave me an opportunity to drive the 19 car when we won the Dream.
Yeah.
That was the best ride I ever had. Robbie Allen was the crew chief on that, and he's always been more than willing to help. So, I mean, ever since really, I mean, even Robbie helped me even before we were with Dale. Like, I mean, that would have been one of those guys, like when he was with Eckert or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, if I would have asked Robbie a question, he'd help me.
Right.
He actually told, there was one time we were somewhere, I can't remember where we were at, and I went up and asked Eckert something. He said, "Hey, whoa." He said, "No more helping him. He's done." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You're cut off." He said, "You've got to where you outran us a time or two." He said, "You're cut off," or something like that. I don't know. It was funny though. But
yeah.
But
it's funny how they want to quit helping you to a point.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if there's guys that I'm competitive with that are just coming up, I actually genuinely enjoy helping guys.
Yeah.
But when it gets to the point where they're going to outrun you, it's like, well,
you really don't need my help.
You don't need my help anymore, and I probably don't want to give it anymore.
Right.
You know, because I need to focus on. I need to win the
race
race
too. Or they need to help you.
Yeah, or help me. Yeah. There's been plenty of seasons where I didn't know anything. Some seasons you really think you know something, and some seasons you're like, I didn't know as much as I thought I did.
You're right.
Yeah, but no, there's just been so many people that have helped me along the way. I don't know. Who am I forgetting?
Peanut.
Who?
Peanut.
Who's
Naylor?
Peanut?
Blake's little brother.
Oh, he's never helped me, no. Brandon Naylor was an excellent crew guy. He helped me a good bit. That's probably who you're thinking of.
That's probably who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he was
I always get
help.
the two brothers mixed up.
Yeah.
They're going to give me hell for that.
But no, I mean, just it was a great career, and if I never turn another lap, I'm happy with what we accomplished. I had a great time, and we
keep on it.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody calls me and wants me to drive for them and it's a good ride, I would definitely entertain some of that.
Right.
And I won't even say that I won't race on my own ever again, because I mean, I still have everything now except a truck and trailer.
Right.
So if I have a dually that I use for work, so all I need is a trailer.
Right.
Technically, all I need is a trailer, and you can buy a trailer fairly reasonably.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could get out there and race this season if I wanted to, unless I sell a bunch of stuff here pretty soon, which a lot of it's for sale.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't really advertised. It's just been kind of word of mouth because I've been so busy with work I haven't had time to advertise anything. But
so if it sells, it sells. If it don't, then
that's pretty much where I'm at with it. Yeah. And I mean, I could use the money. I mean, I don't want everything that I own to sit there and become obsolete and not be worth anything. So, you know, I could sell all that and then.
I think it depends on your market. You know.
Yeah.
I seen where last night, you know, Mark Richards and Scott and Vic Hill, they were talking about buying a regional or a local guy can maybe buy a motor that's a little bit maybe outdated, but for them and what they're doing, they're not traveling. Man, that $10,000 or $15,000 motor is still going to be really competitive at that level, you know.
Yeah, but
so it depends on who.
Yeah, but that $10,000 or $15,000 engine used to be a $10,000 or $15,000. Now that's a $30,000 engine.
Yeah.
That's changed.
Yeah. Everything's changed.
Yeah.
Price-wise.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. But even Mark Richards, I mean, you brought that name up. I mean, he's helped me a ton. Tater Masters at Masterbuilt, he helped me a lot along the way. I mean, there's just been so many people, you know.
Yeah.
That have been a great help, and there's no way to thank them all.
Sure.
But the ones we named are definitely some of the first ones that come to mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Steve, man, I appreciate you cutting out a little time here for me. Let me come up and let's talk about the Casebolt story and some of that good stuff.
There it is, man.
Yeah, there it is. So, hope you guys all liked it, enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was good. Good little session. We probably went a little longer than, I don't know, not really a dirty 30 at this point, but it's good stuff. So I hope you guys like it. Make sure you subscribe, share, tell all your friends, and we'll see you at the track next week. Thanks.